You're watching Voices in Mystery, and I'm your host, Nancy Carlson. With me now is one of my favorite mystery authors, somebody who's been on the show many times, Parnell Hall. Welcome back.
Oh, nice to be back, Nancy.
Parnell has two active series going right now. That's Stanley Hastings and The Puzzle Lady. Well, who have you worked on the latest? What's the latest happenings here?
At the moment, I'm working on a Puzzle Lady book. It's called $10,000 in Small Unmarked Puzzles, and that's
the name of it?
That's
very
the
fun.
name of it. That is the sequel to The Ken Killings, which will be out in February
2011.
of 2011.
Good.
And just before that, I did a Stanley Hastings book, Caper, and just before that, I did a vampire short story.
Oh, really?
Yes, so Stanley Hastings' Tales of Vampire in Crimes by Moonlight, which is one of the Charlene Harris books.
Great. You've been very busy.
I'm always busy.
You tell us, for the viewers who are tuning in for the first time, tell us about your protagonists, the Puzzle Lady and Stanley.
Okay, the Puzzle Lady is a crossword puzzle person. She has a nationally syndicated crossword puzzle column. She's a little old lady. She lives in a small town in Connecticut, but she's a total fraud. She couldn't solve a crossword puzzle with a gun to her head. It's actually her niece Sherry who does it all, and she is just the sweet face that's been put on the column. But as a result, everyone thinks she's the Puzzle Lady, and she does breakfast cereal commercials. However, her real interest is solving crime. So she's always showing up at crime scenes and getting, and the crimes that she shows up to solve always seem to involve a crossword puzzle.
I wonder how that happens.
I don't know how that happens. It's like Cabot Cove, only every single one has a crossword puzzle. Then the police always want her to solve this, which of course she can't do. So she's always tap dancing her way around the fact that she's a total fraud. But she's very good at solving crime.
Now, did she go to war with the Sudoku?
Well, see, now, Sudoku was the hot thing, so she started solving Sudoku as well as crosswords. Then, sure enough, the next thing to come along is the Sudoku Lady, and in this current book, it's the Puzzle Lady versus the Sudoku Lady, the battle of the century, and they're both out there attempting to solve the crime first.
I see. Kind of like they fight for real estate on the newspaper page.
Exactly.
They want to solve the crime first. And Stanley, tell us what's been going on with him.
Well, Stanley in Caper, Stanley has an adventure, and it's a good thing that he does because last year he was employed by a hitman and nearly got himself shot. So he needed a break, and this is a break for him. Instead, it's a simple case. A mother asks him to follow her teenage daughter who's been skipping school. And naturally, this results in kidnappings and 3 murders. But, you know.
And where are they set? Where is the Stanley?
The Stanley books are set in New York City, although he does take a side trip to Philadelphia here to rescue the teenage girl.
Now, you yourself live in New York City?
Yes, I do. I've lived there for several years. I was once a private investigator in New York City, and that's what my Stanley Hastings books are based on.
How long have you been writing?
I've been writing all my life in one way or another. I sold my first piece when I was 16. I sold a song to the folk singer Pete Seeger, who put it on one of his albums.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, well, it's just...
Do you own that, or did he buy the song? Do you get residuals from that song today?
I did at the time, and I gave it to him by going through an autograph line and saying, "Pete, I have a song for you." And he said, "Stick around and sing it." I sang it to him, and he wrote the notes down. And the next album that I bought, it was on. Oh. And the neat thing was that I was a 16-year-old kid, and on the cover of the album it said, Seeger, Guthrie, Leadbelly, Hall.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that's so wonderful. And that's before intellectual property got so complicated.
Yes, exactly.
The music
exactly.
rights and such, and you were just an enthralled young man.
Yeah, exactly. Just wide-eyed.
You've had an acting career as well.
I've had an acting career. I failed at so many things before I came to books. I was a failed singer-songwriter. I was a failed actor. I was in Arnold Schwarzenegger's first movie, which was Hercules in New York. I wore a leopard skin suit, and I chased him down Broadway. He was driving my horse and chariot, which he had stolen, and I was waving a hot dog at him.
Gee, is that out on DVD? I'll have to pick
That
that
is
up.
out on DVD.
Ooh, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
But you settled into writing, and how do you keep your series straight in your head? Do you get mixed up?
I try to finish one book in one series before I go back to the other. I did have, during the writing one of the Puzzle Ladies, I did have to stop and write this vampire story. I'd never done a paranormal story before. So what I did was I took Stanley Hastings, my private eye, and I had him hired to follow a vampire. And I made it a vampire story, only it didn't blow any of the conventions that had been set up in the private eye books. It's an actual private eye story, just has a vampire in it.
Do you want to dabble in the vampire genre now, or was that
I
it?
want to dabble in anything that somebody pays me to do. You know, I did this because Charlene Harris, who wrote the True Blood series on HBO, asked me to do it. So
Let's move into e-publishing now. How do you move from print books to e-publishing? And you brought along some beautiful covers.
it is the coming thing. And what I've done is, here you can look at some of these covers. What I've done is I've taken my backlist, the old Stanley Hastings books that have been out of print for several years, and published them myself as ebooks and put them on Kindle. And it's these books that you couldn't get anywhere are now available for $2.99 at the click of a button. And we're walking a tightrope here between Kindle and the regular publishing. The one has to support the other, and what happens is, what we hope happens is that the electronic publishing forms a nucleus which attracts people to the books, and then they will buy the new books as well. It's
a great thing to do with your backlist.
It's a lot of fun. I have a video out on YouTube right now called "The King of Kindle," which is
I'll check it out.
Is an advertisement, but has cameos by a lot of mystery writers that you probably know.
Well, thank you so much for visiting with us on Voices in Mystery today. We've had Parnell Hall here, a prolific writer, a very popular writer, and certainly a popular guest on our show. Thank you for being here again, Parnell.
Thank you so
much. Come back every year.
I certainly will.